This is English channel. This is English channel.
Hi, Nawaf.
Hello.
Hello.
This is English Channel.
大変お待たせいたしました。それではスタートさせていただきます。
We would like to start the next session. At ACK Talks 2025, we will host 9 talk sessions based on the theme 2050, A Vision Towards the Future. With the aim of enhancing our conference functions and building a community centered on culture and the arts, we will explore new perspectives and values for the years ahead. Together with leading figures in modern art, we will reflect on the new values for the future through discussions on themes such as art and everyday life, reinterpreting culture and sustainability, and the relationship between humans and technology.
ここからは
To conclude ACK Talks 2025, we present our final session, A Practice for 2050, Cultural Strategies for People in Society. We are pleased to welcome Nawaf bin Ayyaf, Senior Advisor of the Ministry of Culture of Saudi Arabia, architect Yuko Nagayama, Eiji Sakamoto, Senior Editorial Writer and Commentator at Nikkei, and Leo Lewis, Tokyo Bureau Chief of the Financial Times. Together, they will explore how we can envision a sustainable future, one that honors history and culture while bringing together diverse fields in meaningful collaboration. With that, let us begin.
Thank you very much indeed for that introduction, and welcome to everyone here in this audience. My name is Leo Lewis, and it is a huge pleasure to be here and to be introducing this fantastic panel today for our final session here in Kyoto. I would like to begin by reminding people that 2025, as well as the year of the Osaka Expo, which we'll be hearing about later. It's also the 130th anniversary of Shochiku. It's the 70th anniversary of Ribbon magazine, and it's the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty. Now, the reason that I bring those three names up is because when I first came to Japan in 1996, I could not believe that those three cultural icons of Japan would be known around the world. But the truth is that they are now known around the world. And something interesting to me has happened over the last 25 or 30 years, which is that cultural projection by Japan has been incredibly successful. But while that has gone on, other countries have also found ways to project their culture. Technology has allowed that projection to become even more powerful and even more widespread. Often, these projections take place because there is a government policy that is driving it. There's an attempt by countries to project those cultural phenomena around the world, and domestically to build on them and to improve them. But governments don't always get everything right. Sometimes they are taken by surprise by the cultural phenomena that grow organically around the world. And those occur with or without government assistance. And it's always difficult to see what those are going to be. Today we've got a fantastic panel, as I said, to cover a huge range of questions that come up in what I've just described. We're going to start, as you heard, with Nawaf bin Ayyaf. I hope that he will come up on the screen now. There he is. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us here in Kyoto. We're sorry that you can't be here in person, but it's lovely to see you on the screen. He is going to start with a presentation. Please enjoy it for the next 15 minutes, and then I'll come back to him with a quick question or two just to get the discussion going. Sir, please take the stage.
All right, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Can you just confirm when you see my screen?
Yes.
Is it visible right now?
Yep, we can see the first page.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, as I said, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for basically inviting me to participate in this conversation. I really think that this is the way for us to actually learn from each other and to engage in these cultural conversations that basically transcends barriers, that transcends boundaries, right? And I'm incredibly appreciative of this opportunity to engage and to share. So what I would like to do today is to offer just a very quick glimpse, first from the macro and finishing with a very micro case of some of our national efforts that basically drive the design dialogue for a future towards excellence, as we like to label it. I want to start off from the very macro level of strategies and frameworks. Just for your contextual grounding, Saudi Arabia took its first major step in developing the cultural sector with the launch of Saudi Vision 2030. That was followed by the establishment of the Ministry of Culture, the adoption of the National Strategy for Culture, and the subsequent creation of 11 specialized cultural commissions, as you see here on the screen, covering the full spectrum of the kingdom's cultural sectors and guided by UNESCO's own frameworks. Today, I will quickly take you on a quick overview of just one of these commissions, which is the Architecture and the Design Commission, which I happen to be leading. So in the Architecture and Design Commission, we have set a North Star, so to say, for design disciplines, where we seek to support design excellence. Excellence that is shaped by our culture and legacy relationships with space and with craft. Excellence that is reimagined by our ambitions through innovation and challenging the status quo. Excellence that is empowered by local talent of practitioners, researchers, educators, and decision makers, aiming to improve the lives of our communities while being at the forefront of the global creative scene. The Commission set the North Star for 6 design disciplines, which is architecture, urban planning and design, landscape architecture, interior design, graphic design, and industrial design. At the Architecture and Design Commission, we carry various activities across the value chain, right? Selectively for design intervention, we set out basically 4 programs. The first is thought leadership through publications and advisory that stimulates dialogue and challenge design practices. The second is orchestrating collaborations by incubating priority opportunities and forming the right stakeholders consortiums. Third is recognizing excellence through series of awards and competitions. And fourth, empowering talent by providing unique opportunities to showcase their capabilities at the global stage. Now, I'll quickly take you through a couple of these 4 areas. I just want to be mindful of the time. In thought leadership, the Commission, for example, launched the King Salman Charter for Architecture and Urbanism in 2022. It's a charter that basically celebrates a legacy of architecture projects that impacted the lives of communities and had unique characteristics that made them special. In this charter, we advocated for value-driven architecture and explored nuances of 6 different values: human centricity and livability, sustainability and innovation, continuity and authenticity. And at the Commission, we also regularly advise national efforts and try to platform thought leadership. Some of our recent publications in this realm include the Urban Transformation Manual, Architectural Competitions Guide, the State of Design Sector Report, and the Design of Sustainability Report. As for orchestrating collaborations, we really try to create networks of different practices, networks of innovation, networks of research, networks of educators, and networks of decision makers, right? Over the past 5 years, we held 10 different forums and conferences, 65 workshops that engaged with 2,000 participating experts, and facilitated more than 250 local and international partnerships. Now, I won't take you through recognizing excellence or the empowering talent, but I think you see some of the gestures here on the screen. But I'll jump straight to a micro case study that I think is very relevant and timely to the topic and to the theme of today's talk. So I took you through the very macro and the very surface layer of actually strategies and frameworks. Now I'm going to get as deep as I possibly can to a single architectural sort of case study where we try to look at how design can shape a better, more sustainable future. A crucial player in the surging development of the cultural and architectural scene in Saudi Arabia is the Dir'iyya Bin Ali Foundation, which is responsible for 2 biennales, the Contemporary Arts Biennale in Riyadh and the Islamic Arts Biennale in Jeddah. For the 2025 edition of the Islamic Arts Biennale, we launched the inaugural Al Musalla Prize, which is an international architecture competition for designing modular prayer spaces that are sustainable, that are flexible and adaptable prayer spaces, but also contemplation spaces that honor Islamic architecture. It targets architects, artists, and engineers, and fosters this sort of cross or multidisciplinary collaborations between different teams. Its goal is to basically create innovative and flexible, sustainable pavilions that can be relocated and reused, hopefully serving as a blueprint for the future of regional architecture that is embedded in sustainability. Now, the inaugural winner of the prize was this wonderful intervention by East Architecture Studio in collaboration with wonderful artist Rayyan Tabit and magnificent engineers AKT2, who managed to actually turn this dream into a reality. The concept basically addresses togetherness and proximity, core dimensions of prayer in Islam. It is inspired by how craftsmen and spirituality come together in weaving. The proposal also envisions a pavilion that is almost entirely built from the waste of local date palm trees, which is a natural resource that is found in abundance across the region. Instead of taking its waste to a landfill or basically burning it, the design showcases how it can be used as a building material, actually. So highlighting that there are more than 36 million date palm trees in Saudi Arabia, generating more than 200,000 tons of waste annually that ends up being burned or sent to a landfill. This structure relied almost exclusively on this perceived waste material, right? It used more than 90 cubic meters of date palm timber to form the skeleton, while more than 200 kilometers of hand-woven palm leaf rope that is dyed with natural pigments entwined the structure with both purpose and poetry. Even the furniture, even the stools, the prayer mats, the benches, they all emerge from the same source material of the palm tree waste. In doing so, this proposal quietly yet powerfully asks, what other wastes might we reimagine as treasures? To also emphasize on its adaptability and fluidity, the space was also utilized for non-prayer activities and events and gatherings and talks. So it's not just a prayer space only for the sake of just one activity of prayer. It's also this multi sort of offering space, which was really utilized in so many different ways. Through this alchemy of experimentation and practical construction, the design really redefines the boundaries of what architecture can be, especially in our region. Bold in its approach, yet deeply rooted in its context. It really does offer a new vision for a sustainable, site-specific design that has the capacity to travel and to unravel. Not only does it set an exciting blueprint for sustainable architectural solutions for the region, but it also builds on deeply rooted notions of craft revival also. This design reflects on theoretical approaches to local craft and its inherent potential to basically create spaces of coexistence where weaving becomes a multi-scalar act of making. Now, because of our emphasis on the afterlife and the legacy components, the winning Musalla Pavilion had a very meaningful journey of symbolic stops, moves, and encounters throughout this past year. After being first introduced in Jeddah as part of the Islamic Arts Biennale, which happened under the Aga Khan Award-winning Hajj terminal canopies, we actually took parts of it on the road to Venice for the Venice Architectural Biennale this year. We really wanted the crowd to basically engage and to feel and to converse with the structure and its materiality. So we brought a one-to-one scaled fragment, as you can see here, from the pavilion and had it exhibited at the Abbazia di San Gregorio as an official collateral event of the Venice Architectural Biennale. After Venice, Al-Musalla's next step was in Bukhara, Uzbekistan. We disassembled the entire pavilion in Jeddah and transported it completely to Bukhara for the first time ever, Bukhara Biennial, which opened this past September. This move from Jeddah to Bukhara by way of Venice, I think, retraces crucial historical connections between Islamic societies in two different regions and giving them a new contemporary resonance. In its move to Bukhara, the Musalla embraces a new setting that has important common ground with its original context. Jeddah and Bukhara are both defined by their histories of openness to ideas and to cultures from near and far. As a port city on the Red Sea, Jeddah was the point of entry for pilgrims traveling to the holy cities of Mecca and to Medina. It has hosted Muslims from around the world who have contributed to the city's identity and its culture. Bukhara, on the other hand, was a leading seat of cultural exchange and learning along the Silk Road, an incubator of theology, science, commerce, art, and architecture for over 1,000 years. The location in Bukhara was also very rich in its symbolism. Staged against the majestic 16th century Kalan Mosque, in a way, it perfectly encapsulates the dialogue between the transitory and the permanent. I hope this presentation provided some insights at both the macro and the micro levels on our efforts in the design and architecture fields. And I really look forward to a healthy conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much indeed. That was fascinating. I have immediately a couple of questions that are raised by that. The first one, I suppose, is as a ministry, when you promote these extraordinary creations, and you talk about the purpose and the goal of those projects. How does a ministry look at impact? How do you measure the achievements that you've made in terms of the connection with people, not just in the kingdom, but as you've shown elsewhere around the world?
Yeah, thank you for a very wonderful question, which is honestly very relevant, because I think our basic school of thought is that not all impact can be measured. Now, of course, there are very, very direct ways where you can measure impact, whether it's through, I mean, it's so easy to put a number or a cap on impact, but what we advocate for is that I only think that's the basic surface layer of impact. Indirect impact can be so much bigger, and indirect impact is not necessarily measured by a number or by a KPI, right? What we try to do is to basically start dialogues, open conversations, create relationships. We try to basically offer platforms like this wonderful talk series that we're engaged with here today. I think through conversations and through collaborations, that's where we can actually learn from the lessons and to basically try and reach so much further in impact beyond direct impact or beyond a mere number or a figure, right? I hope that answers your question.
It does. It's an excellent answer. Look, I know that we don't have too much time, unfortunately, but I did have one other thing I wanted to ask you, which is for a ministry and for a country that is engaging in this, how much discipline does it take to think in the quite long term about projects? It's easy enough. It's not easy. It is possible to think in terms of 5 years ahead, maybe 10 years ahead. How difficult is it to think 20 years ahead, 30, 50 years ahead? How much more difficult is that to do?
Yeah, I think that's an important question, right? Because as I mentioned in my presentation, we're just getting started right now, right? So basically, almost everything that we do right now has consequences for a very long stretch of time, right? What we do right now will basically morph into a blueprint that will be followed for many years to come, right? The Ministry of Culture was only established, what, 7 years ago today? And I think with that, there is so much emphasis and weight in us actually looking at everything that we do, turning into sort of a blueprint for how culture can be experienced for many years to come, right? We're basically setting the guidelines for future generations. So I think with that, there is a huge and hefty weight on our back to basically say that sustainability and long-term sort of use is a very important notion that we should carry throughout all of our initiatives, all of our strategies and frameworks.
That's a perfect answer. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry that we have to leave you now and return to the room here in Kyoto, but on behalf of everyone in the audience, and particularly from me and the organizers, thank you so much for joining us today. That was illuminating, and we wish you all the very best with all future projects. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, back in the room here, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Eiji Sakamoto from our owner of the Financial Times, the Nikkei, and Sakamoto-san has a presentation as well to begin with, and then I'm going to be what a journalist should be, which is to cross-examine him afterwards. So thank you very much, Mr. Sakamoto.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Sakamoto from Nikkei. And Nikkei, I am not like a cultural writer. I'm in the politics field. And from day to day, I look at all the politicians and the government. And then on a side job, for the past decade or so, I have been interested in, we heard about the Saudi Arabia administration, and then if I were able to talk about the Japanese administration, that would be great, but I haven't seen too much of a progress in Japan. I go to different cities, and I go to museums, the well-known ones, such as Hermitage, Metropolitan, Louvre. They all have their own museums, but when I come back to Japan, I think, is there a museum that has all of the Japanese art? Of course, we do have the National Museum, like the one in the contemporary art in Takebashi. Well, they have a lot of, they don't have too many articles there. Quality is great, but not in terms of quantity. And then people say we don't have the modern art museum. We don't even have the Japanese art museum, like the traditional art museum. So I think in Japan, we have a strong culture, but we have not been able to promote that to the world. So as a result, in terms of business, we don't have a large business market. We're like only 1% of the global market, although we are such a big country. And then from April last year on TV, I have this program myself, which is called the Art TV. And then next week, we are going to bring in the Minister of Farming. And we are going to talk about how we should create more museums, promote them, and then we're going to ask the politicians to talk about those things from their perspective. Because I have been talking about that to many different politicians, and then their response is really low. So we have 700 politicians in the cabinet or in the Diet, and I am telling them we have such a great culture, and we should create a museum, and then we should create a big ecosystem so that we are going to have more exciting news coming from Japan. Well, there was this one lady from the upper house in Japan, and then she was saying that we should have like an evergreen exhibit for Japanese traditional art. Maybe we can create an annex or something and then increase the building. So we resonated, but she unfortunately was not elected this year. So to my presentation, I'd like to talk about how to look from 2025 into 2050. And I looked at the Heisei era, the 30 years of the Heisei Emperor. When that era ended, I created columns and articles. The Japanese economy has been stagnant forever. The Heisei era was a full 30 years of stagnation. But there were great things too, such as we had Nobel Prize laureates. Manga and anime became popular in the world. It was a subculture in Japan, but now it's very popular among many fans in the world. So how am I going to connect those dots together? But before that, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm really jumping to different topics, but I am originally from Kumamoto Prefecture, the southern island. And then on the left, we have the Kumamoto Castle. That was when Takamori Saigo tried to create this cannon setup and then start to attack from there. And then on the bottom, you can see the Kyushu bullet train, the Shinkansen. And then on the right, you can see the town at the city.
近代的な都市になったかというと、
You have the preserved town from the older days. And then I was wondering, how did it evolve into this? And
武家や
on the right, I went to Kanazawa,
っぱ景観を非常にこう維持している
and they are still preserving these samurai residences
ですね。まあ
in a very, very good condition. So the Japanese castles, Edo Castle, Nagoya Castle, and Osaka Castle are the top three in terms of their sizes. But in terms of if they are beautiful and if they have a well preserved, Himeji Castle is great. And then in terms of strategic location, I think Kumamoto is really good as well because I'm a local. But if you're trying to explain about this to locals, I would tell them you should go to Kanazawa
かもしれません。
because it is the great place. It doesn't have the castle itself, but it has the castle town around it.
言っていまして、
And then
渋谷ですか。
I think Shibuya could be like the newest city after these feudal lord era. This past 5 years, they have really developed very well, and then I'm sure they're going to be a futuristic city at Shibuya. On the other hand, if you look at the city, in the left picture, for example, I think in 25 more years, we have to select what we are going to keep, what we are going to destroy. I think we should have this urban northern star, so to say. And also, for the Osaka Expo, this is one pat on my back, but I went there right after the opening because I heard right at the end it was really crowded. But this is the article that I wrote. And 50 years ago, I went to the Okinawa Marine Expo. That was when I was in grade school or elementary school. And then they were talking about maglev trains, like flying cars or underwater cities, space travel, space exploration. I was hoping any one of those could be real in 50 years. Of course, technologically we can make it, but politically there are so many risks to do those things. So, and also, what I felt was great in the expo was we saw, see these pictures, I took them myself. You see that there's Hello Kitty and there's Gundam. And then there was like a Blackjack, the Doctor, as well. Those anime manga content were really growing. And bottom left, this is showing the market size. So in terms of market size, or total addressable market, then we have
収穫はまあやっぱ
content, and then we have steel, and then we have semiconductors.
規模で言うとですね、
And in terms of export, we have 5.8 trillion yen of content industry. So when I talk with the politicians, Hayashi Yoshimasa,
会長で、
he was the chairman of Japanese content exportation. He knows that we need to export things. So I am hoping they can really take strong stances there to promote Japan. So again, I am not an expert here, but this is my personal opinion. And when you look at the world art market, Japan constitutes only 1%. And then people always have been saying about this. You invest and purchase an art, and then maybe after a decade or so, you could see an increase in the asset.
経済大国だった。
Japan used to be the second largest economy, and we were hoping that the art market would grow, but it's still only at 1%. But now we have fallen. We are now like fourth, and now if we are maybe if we lose against India, we will be the fifth largest economy in the world. But we have a lot of assets that people have stored, and so we have to invest that. Maybe sell some of your assets, and then you have to have this. You don't necessarily have to pass it down to your children. You know, sometimes people have a large collection after they die. Their family say they tried to sell it, and then they noticed it was junk. It didn't have any value into it. So, see, UK is 18% in the art market. We have Christie's, Sotheby's, but Japan has also this potential to be just as big as UK or China. But when you think about that, it just doesn't change at all. So I thought why we are so low in the art investment. And it's my hobby to go look at different art museums in the world. And the past 15 years, I had this feeling that I really want to have some good piece. And it shouldn't be just like a printed replica. I want to have some sort of something. And then one thing that I noticed after this, and of course, please correct me if I'm wrong, but
さっき言いましたけども、日本はまず、
like I said, Japan, we don't have a major museum
あと日本が
that has all the contemporary art, or maybe the block print or engravings, or we don't have a national museum that have them all, just like Louvre or Hermitage. And in a Japanese TV program, there was this program that said, "Why did you come to Japan? What are you going to do in Japan?" And then we were asking foreigners, "Why did you come here?" And if you go to the UK or to Orly, then people say, "I came here to see the treasures of Egypt," or whatnot. But when people come to Japan, when you ask people at the airport, maybe some people will go say, not many people are going to answer, they came here to see the museums. Or so I would like to propose we should create something in Kyoto. And also in Tokyo, we should create an art museum for ukiyo-e. Because and in Osaka, we should have a pop museum, pop art museum. And
鑑定期間がちょっと私から見るとちょっとまあ使いにくいとかちょっと
And I think these public appraisal system is not sufficient, because when we do some research and then go to gallery and say, well, this person is like a disciple of this person, and then he's done his expo, and then he's done that at that department. So you get to know all this background information of the artist. And I asked them, they are going to say, when he or she dies, we're not going to be sure if this person is going to be famous or people are going to forget about it. So
どこでどういう基準で
So it's really unclear to see how people are appraising, and then it's difficult to see if your investment is going to be justified financially. So
この人の10号の絵は
say
絵の内容によって全然変わりますから
the price of the art piece is also very vague.
言えませんよ
This depends on the content of the piece itself. But if it's a high quality one, then I would like to know at least the ballpark price range, right?
盛り上がってればですね
And when the art show is really exciting, and then there are a lot of sellers and buyers actively working, then great. But because we're a Nikkei newspaper and we have these charts for the economy, but we can see how the art market has fluctuated. We can see the trend of the past, and then but it's difficult to see at the individual artist level. So when we think why people are not buying art, because somebody said we don't have home parties in Japan. So in the Western world, if you go to somebody's place, then you would look at the art that are hung on the wall and say you would talk about this was the artist, he was from this age, and then you can talk about, oh, this wallpaper is great too. But in Japan, you don't have a home party, so you're the only one who is going to appreciate that. You have nobody else to talk about this. So that's another reason why you don't invest in art. But the affluent people, sometimes they buy it for themselves. Maybe they have home parties. But overall, in terms of the ecosystem, it just doesn't match with the Japanese culture. But by activating that more, I hope this 1%, hopefully this can turn into like 10%, or at least like the size of France, 7%. So that's why I have been actively talking with the politicians about increasing our budget towards more cultural initiatives. And sorry, this is really cluttered, but this is the actual amount of art investment. So just understand that Japan, the black bar is the smallest compared to other countries. You have France, which is blue, which has a large budget. So if you look at the percentage compared to the overall budget, Korea is at 1.24%. Japan is 0.11%. See how that's more like 10 times more. And then in terms of the budget per person, if you look at France is 7,000 yen. Japan is only 900 yen, because we're in a weak economy. But this fall, we are going to create this corrective budget plan, about 15 trillion yen. So we can include that there. And
出国するときにお金をですね
and
結果あれが500円ぐらい
It takes about 1,000 yen to process people out of the foreigners out of the country when they come to visit. So I came here to Kyoto and then I used the subway and then I am hauling all this suitcase. You see, there are so many foreigners in Kyoto, and then I don't know why there aren't many elevators and escalators. Maybe we should charge people more, like 2,000, 3,000 yen to enter the country, and then we can use that money to invest that into different places like stations. And on the left, this is the national budget, and on the right, we have the regional budget. And
財団
in America, this is not really like a local or federal, but this is more about the foundations. And we have many foundations in America, so that we don't need too much budget. I guess we're almost out of time. So that was my presentation. Thank you.
That was excellent, Sakamoto-san. And I've got a couple of questions for you. But before I ask those, I'd like to ask Nagayama-san, who hasn't spoken yet, but and we'll do a presentation in a minute. But Nagayama-san, listening to what Sakamoto-san was saying and being yourself in the creative industries, can you tell me how you react to those figures? Sakamoto-san was very clear that Japan seems to be lagging behind other countries and that the environment is not terribly encouraging for all those different reasons. But for somebody who's actually in the creative industry, how does all that feel to you?
そうですね。
Right. So those figures, the numbers that Sakamoto-san presented, we all feel that already, and we know that. And then all of the artists, we know that the Ministry of Culture has a very little budget, and then we're all trying to grab whatever government grant that we can get. But compared to Europe and other countries, and looking at our colleagues, then we can see that there is, in their society, they understand this value of art. And for example, with Germany,
方々が
just regular people, when you go to shopping, on the way back, they would just casually drop by at a museum.
あの
So it's embedded in their lifestyle.
少ない
So in Japan, we have a lower budget for cultural initiatives. And of course, we need to change the politicians and the policies. But first of all, we have a very low art literacy as Japanese. And we just do not understand how to appreciate art. And we don't know that that is directly related to how we live our lives. So what I think is we have to change the education system. We have to educate people more. We have to have more art education. That is the first step. And that's what I have always been talking with my friends and people around me. But you have to go to the museums. And then if you're fans, sir, it's really great to talk forever. But when I talk with people that are not interested in art, then they would say, oh, I am not well versed. I don't know that topic. Sorry. So they just create this wall. And then that's the end of the conversation. So I think we should have more education on how to appreciate, how to incorporate art into the world, and then how to make your life more richer and fuller. That we have to have that base layer or a foundation. So even if the politicians take drastic acts, if the citizens don't understand, then it's not going to make any change. So I think we should make this interesting, fun art education that everybody can engage in. And then, we can start from when we are younger ages. We should have this platform and create people who can appreciate art. So then 20 years, 30 years later, when they become decision makers, then they are going to be the ones who are going to put more budget into this. So I think we are at the stage where we have to sow the seeds.
That is extremely good to hear, you identifying those problems. But just this is for Sakamoto-san and for you, really. I've never met a Japanese person that is not proud of their own culture, of their own creative culture. And Sakamoto-san mentioned TV shows. There's plenty of TV shows in Japan that celebrate individual kind of monozukuri, individuals, old people who are passing that on, or to younger people. And I guess for both of you, this question, perhaps Sakamoto-san first, I don't understand why Japan didn't much sooner realize the export value of the contents. Why is it only relatively recently that Japan realized this huge value? Why has it taken so long?
これもちょっと物議
Yes, so again, this might be, I think we don't have many people who can appraise the value. In the Edo period, there was Kano Tanyu, and then there were artists who were creating these art for castles, and those were like the high artists. And then Jakushu will be like for the peasants. They were like the low-level artists. And we thought new things were like low level. And then in the Showa era, manga, anime, games, we had very strong content, but we thought that is subculture, that is the low end of culture. So that's why we didn't see the value. And then when overseas people, they saw the value in it, then we flipped our opinion. And we always like to import the overseas opinion because we are not really confident about our opinion. But that is, again, because we have to have more museums, and then have those art pieces be collected in the museum, and then we should have this catalog. If we have that kind of a system, then that is going to have this positive effect, and then we'll have more confident appraisal from the Japanese aficionados. And then in France, you have the Impressionist Expo, and then the first one, they said it was a flop. But on the second time, the citizens said this is great, and then this became a big movement. So I think that kind of appraisal system should be stronger in Japan. And then, of course, the politicians can intervene. I mean, I am not saying this, the politicians should intervene. I think they should put more budget into creating that platform for appraisal, and then the experts can do the whatever.
Yeah. So I think we were all quite struck in this room at our friend from Saudi Arabia when he said that the ministry was only 7 years old. I guess the question is, okay, let's say that somebody from the Japanese government is listening to us today and hears what you, Sakamoto-san, said, what Nagayama-san said, and reacts to it. How quickly do you think you could have a result, a good result in Japan? Nagayama-san, how quickly do you think some of the points that you made could be addressed? Is we talking about 10 years, 20 years, or could it be quicker than that?
教育
Well, education, in terms of art education, I think this is something that takes some time to bear fruit. It's not going to have an immediate effect, but we are going to have more deeper understanding of art in the society, and then more people will know that art is important, and it's also directly related to having a more affluent life, a richer life.
そういう新しい
So once we have that kind of a new mindset, then of course that is going to change how we see art, and then that is going to change the creator's environment as well. And again, this is going to take some time. It's to nurture, and it is important to take some time to nurture, not only wait for it. And of course, we should take action right away, but this is something that has to age well. Otherwise, this is a large movement, and then I don't think, for the longest time, we have no interest in art in Japan. So to recreate this basis, this foundation, I think we should take time and make sure we have a good one. So again, the theme today is the practice for 2050. So
まあもうちょっと早いかもしれないですけど、
maybe it's going to be earlier than 2050, but hopefully if we sow the seeds now, and then if I hope by 2050 we will have a little better, higher expectation towards the role of art in the world or in society.
Thank you. Sakamoto-san, a slightly perhaps controversial subject given that we are in Kyoto, but I know that there is some concern in Japan about over-tourism, but perhaps you could give me an idea of how important it is in terms of convincing Japan that it needs to take seriously what you have described, that it needs to take seriously the idea of a national museum of art education. How much would you say that this sudden huge wave of tourists has actually accelerated some of the discussion on that subject?
Right.
In
Japan, like you said, we have this over tourism in 4 cities: Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, Fukuoka. 75% of the visitors are in those cities. So that's why I was saying we should make this museum in Kyoto, maybe other cities. But because people are interested in Japan, I think we really should seize this opportunity. People are going to ask, where can I go to see ninja? Where can I go to see all the anime content in Japan? There are many people like that. So we need to create an answer for them. And then also see where is crowded and then where it's not. Of course, if we create a museum next to an airport, that's nice as well. But I think the politicians should have this Northern Star. And one more thing that I wanted to say was we need theme parks. In Japan, we have so many theme parks: Disneyland, Disney Sea, Universal Studio, and they are all from foreign. We have we finally have the Ghibli Park, which is a Japanese park, but we don't have the Japanese anime or game or ninja parks at all. And then in Expo, we had Gundam robots. We took down the Yokohama Gundam and then put this in the Expo. So it's like taken down, migrating in different places. But I think we should create one central location. There was this manga cafe that was taken down because they thought it was a waste of taxpayer money. But now it's coming back again. So I think we should have a strategic view of where we create new museums that is not going to create too much crowd. Maybe we can make it next to Haneda Airport. I don't know where it is, but if we have a maglev train, maybe we can make it next to a station. So there are maybe these many ways.
So just before we have Nagayama-san's presentation, just one more question on that, Sakamoto-san. When you look at, just one more. Naoshima Island is actually very well known amongst foreigners. Many of my friends who are visiting put that on their map. So they want to see Kyoto, they want to see Osaka, maybe Hiroshima, apart from Tokyo. But everyone always mentions Naoshima. Is that, from your point of view, is that a good model? I know it's private, not public, in terms of the financing, but it's a privately owned museum. But is that a good model in some ways for the public sector to follow?
Naoshima, I've been there myself. I think it's a great island, but I don't understand why so many people are there. Maybe because it's a place where you can see Nara Yoshitomo. But this inner sea, Setonai Kai, is I think it has this high potential for visitors, just like the Greek ocean tours. So you can make those Naoshima Island and other places like one of those destinations. Of course, there are some political reasons why you can't do that. I mean, like the fishery rights. But the politicians should actively resolve those issues and then make that the Naoshima as one of those destinations and then connect that with the local other activities.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, Nagayama-san, I think you've got a presentation. I'd love to hear from you, and we're really looking forward as well to hearing a bit more about your extraordinary achievements. You are, at the moment, rebuilding Tokyo's skyline. You've done that before. The incredible Kabuki-cho Tower is a landmark for everyone to see, and it's stunningly beautiful. And it's changed the whole shape of Shinjuku when you look at it. And when we think about the theme of today, about this sort of long-term thinking, architecture obviously has a huge role to play in that. I think some of us, myself included, wonder why a expo has to be taken down at the end after just 6 months. Some of these beautiful creations disappear. I guess like cherry blossoms, they don't last very long. So I look forward very much to your presentation, but afterwards I have a number of questions I'd like to ask you about your own work and experience. Thank you.
はい。あ、そ
All
れ
right,
では
so let me take you through my presentation. So here, like you just mentioned, we are going to talk about the expo because it was the year of expo, and Kyoto and Osaka is very close. So I'm sure some of you have gone to Osaka Expo 2025. But
いうところ
also, we talked about the sustainable architecture that Nawaf was talking about in his Saudi Arabia Expo. I think we have very close ties with this topic. So
始めたのは
I started working with expos
万博
from the previous expo, which is the Expo 2020 Dubai Japan Pavilion. So I'm sure that you haven't been here too much because we were during COVID. Nobody was able to leave the country. And the one before this, the Milan Expo, a lot of people from Japan went there, but it was so difficult to leave the country in 2020. So not many of you have probably gone to this pavilion. But this was in 2020, but it ran in 2021 from October until 2022, March, end of March.
普通はです
So normally expos happen on the years of 0 and 5, but so in other words, you have 5 years of preparation period. But we were 1 year late, and then because it was starting in fall, so as those for our next Osaka Expo, we usually have 5 years of preparation, but we only have 3.5 years from Dubai. So people were really rushed, and then it was a very awful conditions for all of the workers. And the size of the venue, 438 hectares. This is like 3 times bigger than Osaka Expo.
まあここが
So this is the Dubai Expo venue,
万博の日本館の
and I was selected as the Japan Pavilion's designer or the architect. And the first time I went to Dubai was in 2017. It was just the barren land. It was just sand everywhere. And we created a big city out of it. And then the post-expo, they are turning this into an actual city, and they have the residential area here. So from the very initial planning phase, we knew how we were going to use this place after the expo. And in Japan, we had this quite large location.
できました。で、私たちが建築のコンセプトにしたのは、万
And our architectural theme was connecting mind, creating future. That was the theme. So we were going to create the future from the connections. So we thought about the connection between the Islamic world and Japan, which of course is the Silk Road. We connected 1,500 years ago. And you can see this geometric patterns as one of the connections between two countries.
造体にすることによっ
And
て
then we use this hemp leaf pattern as these into this 3D shapes. And then if you look at it from side, then you can see how it opposes a lot of different patterns. And if you look at from one side, then you see this Islamic pattern. And then from the other side, you have other countries. So from one facade, you were able to create a multicultural experience. So we can create this small frame, and then we can split that up and add some brains or like
幕でもまあ幕で
And in the 1970 Expo, we had a lot of different brains, but it doesn't permeate wind. And then by splitting this up, you can create shade, but at the same time, it can permeate wind by punching holes through them. And what's also interesting is we were always thinking about recycling and reusing them. So we had this ball joint system to make it easier to strike down. And then just like a plastic model, we were able to assemble this. And then in a different location, we were able to reassemble them in a different shape if possible, if you want to. So we knew, or we didn't know back in Dubai that the Osaka will be the next expo location. So we were thinking maybe we can use it as a tent, because in Dubai we need some places with shade. So we thought we can use this after the expo. So again, this was the pavilion that we made. And you can see how it's creating light, but shade as well. And then we also have this water basin in front. So you can see it's the wind can go through, and then that wind is also going to carry this the moisture of the water, and then it's going to lower the heat. It's going to make the building cooler, so we can reduce the air conditioning and try to be as natural as possible. And then inside, we don't have any of those large, bulky pillars, because we were able to create the structure. The facade itself is like the exoskeleton, so you were able to sustain the weight. This is the ball joint system. As you can see, you can connect them together, you can disassemble them easily. And at night, especially in the Middle East, they take care about this dawn and dusk. So as you can see, we can also light it up to entertain people. And this pavilion, this was reused. And in Expo 2025, Women's Pavilion, they were reused there. So the concept was to connect Dubai and Osaka, Kansai. Because after we knew we were selected as the next location, Osaka, Kansai, there was COVID, and then that concept of reusing material wasn't really accepted well. But 1 month before the Dubai Expo, I was able to finally visit the actual location. And when I saw this, I thought, it's just sad to see this struck down after 6 months. So I decided in my mind that I was definitely going to take this back to Japan. So I created my own project, and then
So
I had this wonderful, I met this person, and Cartier, which is a French jewelry brand, they said, the Japanese CEO, Jun Miyachi, was the CEO of Cartier. And they also said from Dubai to Osaka, they wanted to succeed that concept. The two things they wanted to succeed was the concept, the other one was the architect. So they said if they can combine the two together, they can create the Japanese pavilion. So it was originally called the SDGs Expo, but we address the gender issue and the sustainability issue, number 5 and number 12. These are both the weak points of Japan. So we thought if we combine this together, we could create this into a good project. So the national budget was only up to the strike or the disassembly of the project. So I had to find other people. So the first person who was going to be our partner was the Obayashigumi construction company. And they said, this is such a great concept, so we will make sure that we disassemble in the right way so that we don't destroy things. And then also, we will help in the process to gain the budget for transforming or transporting all this material to Japan. And then there was another transportation logistics company that was very strong in the Middle East. So they were able to bring all this material to Japan as well. It was a combination of many people's effort. So this sustainability theme, I think because of our social background, we were able to gain more of these excellent supporters. So on the left here, you can see this is the Dubai Expo. And in the Osaka Expo, we were given this very long rectangular shape, almost like the Kyoto houses, the traditional Kyoto houses. So we had to reassemble our system. We had 10,000 parts, and then we had to check all of them, and then put them in the right location, and then fit them into a puddle, and then we run some structural analysis to make sure it has enough rigidity. It took us about 3 months,
リングチー
And
ム
we had this Ayyaf, which is the world-renowned engineering team. So, as you can see here, we created the exclusive system to make sure we had structural integrity.
なのは新しい
So, we knew we were not going to use any new material, and then we knew we are going to create a new shape that's different from Dubai.
で、
So, by doing so, we were able to reduce the CO2 by 50%.
この、ドバイにあったものが
And then what was in Dubai moved to Osaka. And then currently I'm working on this project of architecture that moves around. So here, this is you have this elevator. It was right next to the ring, so you can see there was this elevator, and I was able to take that photo. So if you look at it from the depth direction, the Japan pavilion was circular, so we were able to have a better view in our pavilion. And what's different from the Dubai Expo is we have so many trees and plants, and we called it the Mother Earth.
ということも
And because this is the women's pavilion, this was the concept to have plants in there. And then these plants are all locally sourced from the Osaka's mountains. And then when we disassembled this, we planted them back into where they came from. So this is the sustainable development that includes the plants' lives as well. So as you can see, this is a very long shape, and then it has this great depth, but we have this garden in the middle where you have light and wind.
こう映像と音によって
And the expo, many times they create a black box and just have this the digital video and then the music and whatnot. But I wanted the people to feel more of the nature, so that's why at the very end we have this central courtyard. And also in the exhibits we have natural skylight, and this is called The Space. And here we had 200 sessions, over 1,000 speakers who come over, and then there are many people who gave lectures here.
ですね
Now, this picture is where this was a dream of mine for a long time. This is Nakaya Fujiko. When in the 1970 Expo, in the historical Expo, they had the first fog exhibit. And then I always wanted to collaborate with Nagayama-san. Nakayama Fujiko create these fog sculpture, and this is the dynamic sculpture, right? So I thought it had a very good synergy with my pavilion, and then Nakayama-san agreed to do this collaboration. And it's been 75 years, and Nakayama-san is 92 right now.
ダンサー
So this fog sculpture, together with the dancer, Nakayama-san herself would move this the fog. So this was the biggest memory of the Osaka 2025 Expo.
次
So this is a different topic, switching gears. Together with the Panasonic group, we've created the pavilion with them. And this again was from this was the sketch. This almost looks like a child's drawing.
で出したんですけど
And I used this in the open offering. But
デザインですけれどもやっぱり子どもの
many people think of like this organized structure, but because this pavilion was for children, I wanted to make something that's more organic and that looks like it's transforming and it's flexible. So I wanted to create that kind of a pavilion. So when you think about how you can structurally analyze this, normally these odd shapes are, it looks flexible, and normally we would use strong, rigid, straight pieces. So I was trying to find a solution in how we can connect these odd shapes together to really create strong shapes. And
構造も
I created these arch shapes. So this is the model. And now if you can look at the digital version, then it looks something like this. It almost looked like a sponge from outside. So then the wind is going to be critical to my pavilion. So we did the air tunnels experiments, and then we did the analysis using the digital models to decide a final shape. So I'm sorry, this is very technical architectural talk, but we were able to think about the earthquakes, fires, and different risks. And then we created the mock-up, first prototype. And then this is a factory in Osaka where we had them bend all these tubes, 100 of them, to create a prototype. So that's how it came to be. So this is the organ cloth, and it also has this metal spattering to it. So it would flow and billow in the wind, and you can see how this is lit up.
次の、
So this pavilion, we have the Yokohama Green Expo in 2027, and then these are going to be reused again. So both the women's pavilion is going to be its third location, and then it's going to be yet another different shape. It's going to be in the outdoors, and then the expo committee said it's going to be 3 times as bigger as the women's pavilion. So we are going to reuse our material, but we are going to also lease some material as well. And then for the Panasonic Nomonokuni, this is going to be Toho Leo Pavilion. So all those bent structures are going to be into real arches, and then we are going to add some greenery to make this green dome. And we are already talking about what are we going to do with the next expo. And so we had Naif, who was at the cultural ministry, and I'm hoping we can take it to Liad just as a dream. And then
のシステムを、使って
we are using these small units, so you can combine them into completely different shape. The unit size is so small. And then we also have this management system. We're starting to create this management system. We have the 2D code on everything. So if you scan them, you can see where they should go. And then if you use the AR system, then you can see as if the building is there, and you know where each of those components go. So we have this highly sophisticated system. So
こういう
together with this system, we can more efficiently reuse these pavilions. And with the current Japanese laws and regulations, we are not really allowed to reuse steel beams. This is only possible because it's Expo. But again, we have to think about how we can validate the safety of these buildings and tell the politicians that this is totally fine to reuse. Then that is going to promote the reuse of buildings in the future. And I'm sure it can be used for non-Expo usages as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's just fascinating. I'll give you a little rest of your voice just for a moment while I ask Sakamoto-san a question about expos generally. Before the Osaka Expo, Sakamoto-san, there was a certain amount of doubt about what the value is to a country of hosting an event like Expo, because it's expensive and it doesn't last so long. And even though we've heard that there are some fantastic artistic achievements at the expos, there's still some doubt about the value for a country like Japan. Could you give me your assessment, now that the Osaka Expo is finished, can you give me your assessment of how valuable it was or was not for Japan?
これ始まる前に政治家
Right. So we talked about this with the politicians before this talk here, and at Tokyo, people were really negative about it. And then back then, from the elderly, it feels like, why do you have to do an expo now? But because I was at the Okinawa Expo when I was 9 years old, it was really great. So even if we, the elderly, don't care about it, I'm sure it has a value for the younglings. But what the issue is, making it, breaking it is like just not sustainable at all. And I said that to the politicians. Then with the expo committee, they said there are some limitations where you may be able to keep some things forever. And like Nagayama-san said, there are some things that you can use permanently. So that is sustainable. And if you can reduce the amount of these the waste, then I'm sure you can have a good one.
Yes, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I think we can all understand that side of things. But just from not just the sustainability side of things, not just the financial side of things, I think in the end, enough people visited that it didn't lose any money. I think that was fine. But Nagayama-san, just in terms of going back to what we were talking about before, about the way that a country can project its content and project its artistic and creative skills, is an expo important in that way for the host country as well as for everyone else? Is it an important thing for the host country, do you think?
そうですね。
Yes. I think this expo, this is an international scene. This is a global event. And this is a great opportunity for us to increase the presence in the world. Everybody is going to say Japan was a great country. And I hope,
まあ短期的に
even though this is only a very short period, only 6 months, I think there's a larger value than just saying if we made money or lost money through Expo. So I hope this effect would keep on lasting. By doing this 2025 Expo, I wanted to see how that is going to connect that to legacy out to 2050. So we need to have this a longer viewpoint. So as creators involved in this build out, we shouldn't be too focused about the short-term gains, but we should be mindful of what the long-term goal is, and then we have to make adjustments to our activities. So in my case, it's going to be about the sustainable reusability of the pavilion. So I think this may be like a start of the reusable buildings. Maybe people in 2050 are going to say, hey, if you look at 2025, that was the starting point of where we started to reuse buildings. Of course, now in 2050 it's taken as granted, but people back then weren't thinking about that. People were just wasting. So I think I should have tried a little more with Osaka Expo.
どんどん
And then in terms of promotion of reusability, like I said, you have to have this management system, and we have more of these sophisticated systems. Reusability is so difficult because you have to manage 10,000 different components. And if you do it the wrong way, then it's going to cost more than building out new. So there are so many limitations and things that you have to be careful about. But we were able to successfully pull this off, and this is going to be the starting point for our next expo. So back in the 1970s, in the 1970 Expo, I'm sure there were some standard practices of the time
まあやっぱり
that we look back to now and say that was the starting point. So that is what we want to do as a POC. We think of this as the experimental ground. We should try a lot of different things and see what we can create as a legacy into the future. And
されていない
I guess we weren't able to tell this to the public, and I love to talk about these sustainability things, but many people here probably haven't heard about it from me. But if you look at global media, they were able to feature us, and the Japanese media came to us much later asking about these questions. So maybe that's because the Japanese people aren't too interested in the sustainability context. So again, it comes back to the education. We want to educate people and make people more interested in these things.
Sorry, that is a really, it gives me another idea that I wanted to ask you about. As an architect who is creating buildings that will be around for a very long time, but also living in a country where a lot of buildings get torn down much sooner than they would in, say, my country in the UK. I grew up among buildings that were 400 years old and had been around for a very long time. But my house in Japan was built in 1995, and I will probably have to build a new one because it's going to fall down quite soon. We talk about permanence and short term in terms of architecture. Sakamoto-san showed us a picture of Kumamoto and said some of these buildings will have to go and some will be kept. As an architect talking about city planning and involved in these very big projects, how do you think about that idea that Japan doesn't always keep its buildings for a very long time, that things are quite disposable in a way. How do you feel about that as an architect?
そうですね。
Yeah, as an architect, of course, we love to create these permanent buildings because it is our crystallization of our efforts. So I hope they last forever, and then that's why we try to create things that are timeless and that are permanent, that are not really using too much trend, and we try to incorporate the local elements as well. We want to make something that's going to look nice in whatever times
まあ事業
in past or future. But of course, there are some business leaders' decisions that lead to destruction of those buildings. But these days, we have a lot of renovation projects as well. So we are actively thinking of how we can still keep those older buildings. But again, we have a lot of construction regulations. And if we change the building usage from one thing to another, there are a lot of red tape, and there are a lot of applications, and there are many documents that are missing because it's too old. So it's difficult to assess these old buildings. So I think the main point here is about how we are going to reorganize our building code. But that's getting better and better, and there are many more schemes that are coming up on how we can preserve those older buildings. So what we have to do is to accelerate this movement. Otherwise, we are going to lose many of those valuable buildings from the past. So in the future, I think we should make this scrap and build cycle slower. And in the previous session, the Olafur-san and the Vice Monk was saying about slowing down is the new speed. So I think this renovation speed, construction speed, if we can, go into a little more human scale, if you can make that, we shouldn't rush in those buildings' metabolism. What we can use, we should mend and use. And then architects, we should think about creating buildings that are going to be loved by the locals so that people will oppose striking them down. We should create those things that are going to be loved by people.
Thank you. And we don't have much time left, but I do want to, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot with a difficult question, but this theme has been about the idea of cultural strategy and projecting cultural strategy. You have all very successfully described how it works for Japan. But when you were at the expo here in Osaka, in terms of other countries that had a strategy to project their culture and were using the expo to do that, which ones really stood out for you? Which other countries that were building beautiful pavilions at the expo, which ones stood out for you as the most successful in projecting their national culture?
ちょっと私も実は
So, to be honest, I haven't been able to look at other countries myself, so it's difficult to decide that. But one thing that surprised me was the Italian pavilion was really popular because what they brought to Japan was their traditional heritage. It was their cultural assets. But we were surprised to see how it attracted a big crowd. And so we thought, why didn't we do that? Why didn't we bring, we have a myriad of great treasures in Japan. And we were thinking we could have done that better presentation of our Japanese culture and could have made the much larger crowd. And of course, Hello Kitty is fine. We can say we have Hello Kitty, yes, but just like Italy, we also have the centuries and millennia of treasures. And maybe we should have added like at least one element, looking at the Italian pavilion. That's what I thought. Can I add on to that? The US and Italy was crowded, but I thought China was great. And I have the same opinion with Japan. Of course, Hello Kitty is fine, but we didn't have any Japanese tradition. And of course, it was more about the SDGs, but that was the chagrin. So in China, they started to say Japan and China share the same Chinese character, and then we also have the same way we counted time as well. And then China was really good at delivering their culture.
That's absolutely true. Also, I think we should probably say our guest, Mr. bin Ayyaf, has unfortunately had to leave from his Zoom call. But it's also true that the Saudi Arabia pavilion was really very good as well, and they're to be congratulated for that. It was an excellent
それ
pavilion.
はすいません、サウジも本当に素晴らしい。
Yes, you're very right. Saudi was great because they had the coral reef issue, right? They were talking about how the environmental impact on the ocean. So they were creating some artificial coral, and then the real coral would use that as a foundation to build their own colony. So I think that effort was really great in terms of environmental preservation, and then the pavilion itself was great.
Look, Sakamoto-san, Nagayama-san, thank you very, very much indeed. I know that he's left, but also on behalf of everyone here, thank you to Mr. bin Ayyaf as well. I've gained so much from this last 90 minutes. I'm really grateful to our two panelists for taking this time, and to our hosts here at ACK for making this happen. And to you, our audience, thank you very much for joining us today. I've been Leo Lewis, and I'm very grateful for your joining us today. Thank you so much.
改めまして登壇者の皆様、本日は本当にありがとうございます。
Thank you very much to the panelists once again. So this is the end of the ACK talk sessions, but all of these will be available online and then in the archives as well. So please continue to enjoy ACK talks. Once again, thank you very much.